Hi and welcome back to the channel Bhumi Learning Ground for Education. Today we are connected to understand about MySQL conceptually, like what is MySQL, where and how it is used, why it is used, how to retrieve the data, what is database, what is relational, and etc. Before jumping to this conceptual know-how of MySQL, this is the course we have designed on Bhumi for the SQL programmers and data analysts. This program will help to grasp the SQL concepts. It enables you to program on SQL. It helps to answer the business questions. And amazingly, we don't need any person or any student who is from the coding background. No prior coding experiences required here. We are connected here to communicate with the database, to understand SQL, to understand SQL syntax, how to retrieve the data from the databases. So this is one of the scenario which come across in every organization. Like you are the product manager of your organization and you need to find out the products with the highest sales. Question one. Another question is you would also like to see the performance of other products in the sales report, which is connected to the database. Now you will be given these two problems. Okay, now you have to solve this problems by writing the programs in a SQL to communicate with the database. What is the SQL? It's a language used to communicate with the database. Database is a relational database management system here. What is relational database means? It means that it stores the data in separate tables rather than one single table. For example, we have customer table, product table, sales table. So all the data of the three tables will not be combined into one table with multiple columns. Rather, it will be reflected in the three different tables. SQL also helps in data retrieval, data manipulation, and data storage. What is RDBMS? It is used for the DBMS, which is Database Management System. In simple terms, whenever we need to understand or manipulate the data, we need to have the relationship among the tables. This means that to understand which customer has bought which product, how often he got that product. So we need to connect those three tables: the product table, sales table, and the customer table all together, and that is what relational means. So every database is connected to a IDE. So there are prerequisites which require before you go and learn SQL. The first is you install the database, whichever you choose. Second, choose the IDE which you require for that particular database. For example, if you are using PostgreSQL, so the IDE you require is the pgadmin. If you are using MySQL database, the IDE you require is the MySQL Workbench. If you are using Oracle, then go for SQL Developer IDE. If you are using Microsoft SQL Server, then for Windows user, go for SQL Server Management Studio, and for Mac users, Azure Data Studio. So these are the IDE you need to install before you learn MySQL. We have key concepts in DBMS. Key plays a crucial role in RDBMS. It helps to identify unique rows and columns to establish the relationship among the tables. As we already know, it is the meaning of the relational database. So two major keys used here in DBMS is the primary key and the foreign key. Primary key helps not to have non-redundant data, which means no duplicate data will be taken in the primary key. It acts as an Aadhaar card which we have, which is a unique identifier of a person. Similarly, primary key acts as a unique identifier for that particular table. Whereas if we have one table which has employee ID and we have another table also it has employee ID, and we would like to build a relationship or we would like to join those two tables, then we need the concept of foreign key. For example, table 1 has employee ID which you already set as a primary key. To to make it a unique identifier. Then in table 2 also there is an employee ID because you need to build a relationship. That is what RDBMS is. So in table 2 there is a column of employee ID which is there in the table 1 also. So for that employee ID in table 2 acts as a foreign key. It is also known as child and parent key. Primary key is the parent key, foreign key is the child key. Hope the concept of primary and the foreign key is clear. Then we have multiple types of database like hierarchical, network, object oriented, and relational database. If you see the relational database which we are talking about or discussing about, like SQL is the relational database. Here, these three tables are interconnected to each other. With the marks awarded in all three tables, the column is similar to each other. The major and important part of SQL is the SQL commands. Let's go through these commands with the use cases. So what does this use case defines? There is a database which has the information about the new admissions taking place. But the management forgot to add the communication address column into that table. So now that communication address column needs to be altered in the existing table. Is it possible through the SQL? Yes, of course. SQL offers DDL, which is Data Definition Language command. This statement used to create and restructure database objects. For example, it creates table, it drops table, it alter table. So by creating a table, we can create a new table in a database, in a new or existing database. Drop table means to remove the table. Alter table means like this scenario, we need to add another new column. So you can use alter table command through this DDL statements. Another use case is now the communication address column is added or new table is added. You need to store the information about the communication address of the students in a table. Now, in the previous command DDL, what you have done, you had just added a new column named as communication address, but you were not able to enter the relevant data into the cells of every student. So now through the DML statement, which is data manipulation language, through this you can modify the data within the relational database. For example, you can insert, update, delete, or select any information given or not given in the table. It is also known as DQL, which is data query language. The third type of command, let's go with the use case. You need to now ensure that only people in the administration team can access the students' information and all other teams are denied to access to students' level information. This means the information, the communication address and other information which was already there in the table. Now you need to restrict that table that only these few people can have the access to that particular information and not everyone in the admin department. So is this type of thing is possible through SQL? Yes, of course. Through DCL, data control language statement. Through this statement, you have the control to access to the stored data. For example, you can either grant or revoke the access or permission. So there are three types of command: DDL, DML, and DCL. Coming to the basic syntax of SQL, before switching to the syntax, let's talk about the data types. Everywhere we have a various type of data types, and so in the SQL also. There are multiple data types, but four are the majorly used, which is char, varchar, integer, and date. Char, char, which means character. Varchar is also a character, but a variable character. Int is the integer used for the numerical data and date for the date formats data. So the only difference between char varchar is about the length. In char, it's a fixed length, and in varchar, you can change the length. Coming to the syntax of SQL is SQL use create database then database name, syntax to create the new database. If you want to create a new database, you just write a command or program, create database, then in bracket, give any name to that database. The next is if you want to create a table in that particular database, create table in the bracket, give the database name dot table name. We are ensuring SQL that we are giving this table into that particular database only. Semicolon is used to end the syntax or query. Whichever command or program you are writing in the SQL, until you are not putting semicolon, the command will not execute. Once you put semicolon and run, it understands that command is executed. How SQL retrieves data from existing database? SQL uses select clause to fetch the data from the database table. You must have come across this select here in DML statement. It allows us to, the manipulation statement allows us to select the data. So SQL uses select clause to fetch the data from the database. What you have to write, you just have to write the name select, then whichever column information you would like to fetch, put the column 1, 2, 3, whatsoever the column name you have given in the table from table name, and you see the semicolon, it is used to end the SQL statement. If you don't want to see the particular information but the complete information given in the table, so in that case what you have to do is select asterisk from table name. This asterisk retrieves all the column information given in the table. So this is how SQL retrieves data from the existing database. Hope the concept of SQL, why, where to use is clear to you. Now let's go to the major part, which is the roadmap. There are different concepts the corporate requires, different job needs, different level of expertise, the basic, intermediate, and advanced. There are some people who knows basic SQL, some knows advanced, some knows intermediate level of SQL. So every level of expertise has a different jobs. Let's talk about the expertise. If you want to know the basic SQL, these are the commands or the topics you should know in the basic SQL. What is RDBMS? SQL commands, data types, constraints, operators, join, SQL clause, which is very important. The jobs which you will get if you know the basic SQL are as a business analyst, junior analyst role, or as a software engineer. If you know the intermediate level of SQL, the topics are given here you should know, and the jobs you will get after having the intermediate level of expertise are as a data analyst, data scientist, and software engineer. Coming to the last level, which is the advanced level, if you know the basic, intermediate, and the topics given in the advanced SQL, then the jobs you will get is as a database developer or the SQL developer. You need to answer these questions in the comment box below. Question 1, question 2, question 3, and this is a use case or a exercise. You have to solve it and have to give the answer in the comment box below. So this is the course information of the course available on the EdBhoomi MySQL, which includes basic, intermediate, and advanced level. So what you are waiting for? Register now. Visit www.edbhoomi.com, and all the details are given in the description box below. Please give your answers in the comment section. See you soon in the next video. Till then, goodbye.